So guys, I have folded my fabric into two. Then you are going to divide your hip by 4. Divide your hip by 4. Then whatever you get, you are going to mark it here. So I've divided my hip by 4 and gives me 9.5 inch, but I added half inch. You mark it. Mark what you got from dividing your hip by 4. So I've marked my 10 inches here. Then after marking my 10 inches, I'm going to mark one inch from up to down. 1 inch from up to down. 1 inch from up to down. If you have not made this the use of this pattern, just try it out. I promise you it's going to work. If you have been finding it difficult to cut a trouser, or to get the exact pattern of a trouser, just try this pattern and you are not going to regret it. So mark 1 inch down. After that, you measure your nail length. Remember, before you measure this 10 inches or your nail length, minus 1.5. Just bring your tape up just the way I place my tape. Place your tape at 1.5 inch, depending on how many inches you want to use for your waistband. So I'll be using 2 inches for my waistband, and that's why I place my tape around 1.5 inch. The other half inch will be for sewing. So you mark your hip. My hip line is 7 here. My hip line is 7.5 here. That's what I marked. So I've marked my hip line. So the next thing for us to do right now is to mark our flap area, our clutch line. This is what I'm marking, and you are going to use your hip divided by 4 again. Your hip divided by 4, you can add half inch allowance. So I've marked it. That will be your flap or your crouch line. So you mark your lap divided by 2. Your lap divided by 2 is what you are going to mark as your crouch extension. So I've marked it. Then you come out by half inch from this waistline. Then curve your line. Curve it. From that half inch you come out, curve it. You can use, if you have your curve ruler, you can use it and curve so that it will enter very well. You see the half inch, you curve it. So from the flap area, you are going to mark, from this flap area, you are going to mark your waist divided by 4. My waist divided by 4 is 7.5, so I marked it. So the next thing to do now is to make sure you be checking if your measurements are correct. So from the waist you mark, curve it to dye your hip line. This is where we'll be using that 1 inch. You see the way I curve it to that 1 inch extension. Curve it like that. From the measurements you got from the waist, curve it to that hip extension, a 1 inch extension. Make sure it's got to this our lap line that we marked. You can use your curve and curve it very well. You know, the other chalk I was using, that white chalk was really messing up everything. But if I decide to use the yellow chalk, it will not be showing very well. That's why I was using the white chalk. So you see the way I curved it. This is where we use the 1 inch extension that we marked out that time. So you mark your nail round, your round nail measurement. So this is a palazzo pant, so you can make it a bit free. I'll be using 22 inches here. 22 inches divided by 2 is 11. So from that 1 inch extension, you mark it from the beginning, then mark 11. You mark 11. You'll be marking from that 1 inch. You are not going to remove hand again. You'll be marking from the beginning of this fabric, just like this. I've marked my 11 inches. Then the full length of the trouser, from that 11 inches, mark it straight. It's kind of palazzo, so it's going to go straight from that new line to full length. Then use your curve line. Can make use of freehand too, to curve it from this flap or crouch extension to that your knee. You curve it well. Then from your knee, you mark it straight to your full length, just the same way I did it. And we almost done with the drafting of this pattern. It's a freehand. You can use your pattern, you can cut it directly to your hair on your fabric. So you mark half inch on top of this waistline. You mark half inch and slant it just the way I did. Half inch. Then make sure all your measurements are correct before you start cutting. Then we've done that. Let's cut out. Be careful so that you will not cut out where you are not supposed to cut out. Cut it out, and then we move on to cutting the back. Just open up that side. You don't need to cut out, just open up that side just the way I did it. Then we are done cutting. I forgot to cut out that half inch on the waist, so I've cut it out. Let's fold our back too. When folding your back, just make sure that the width is bigger than the front width by 4 to 3 inches. 4 to 3 inches. Extra allowance at the top. Just leave about 3 inches there, or 2 inches at the top here. So you start marking. Mark 2 inches from this crouch area and 2 inches up. Then slant it the way I just did, and curve it 2 inches from this crouch extension. Mark just 2.5 inches. I marked 2.5 inches because I used my lap. My lap divided by 8 is 2.5. That's why I marked my crotch as 2.5. Then from there, you mark to 2 inches down to the full length. That will be your sewing allowance. I marked 2 inches down to the full length, and we are done. So by this side, you curve it just the same way the front side hip is. Curve it like that, and we are done with this pattern. Just follow the steps I followed, and you are going to get it correctly. So you will cut out. And this is our pocket. Cut 14 by 14. I cut my pocket 14 by 14, 14 width, 14 length. I cut 2 of it, 2 pockets. I face the fronts together. Then place your 2 front pattern. Once you've placed your 2 front pattern, you are going to mark 1.5 inch from the side. Mark 7 inches length. 7 inches length. Then 1.5 inch from the side. Then curve it. Don't mark it straight, just curve it just the way I did. Then after you curved it, cut it out. This is how I cut my pocket sometimes. But if I'm making a men's pants, I don't cut it this way. But you can achieve the pocket just like I did. Then let's start sewing. You place each of the pockets together just like this. You place each pocket with the front pattern, just like this. Place the front together just the way I did, then sew it. You sew. After you've sewn it, open it this way. Open your stitching line this way, then notch it. When you have notched it, notch it carefully, just like I'm doing. So after notching it, turn the front this way. Turn it this way. Make sure you iron all your steps. We don't have like this area, that's why I've not been ironing. Turn it this way and top stitch carefully on top of it. Top stitch carefully on top of it. After top stitching it, you turn it this way. Just keep watching what I'm doing. You turn it like this. This is where you are going to top stitch. You top stitch on top of the waist, then top stitch that area, that place we mark 7 inches, top stitch it. And this is it. This is it. The second one, you top stitch. Just do the same thing with the second one. You top stitch, then flip it like this. Top stitch, top stitch. Just watch it carefully the way I am doing it. I have sewn the 2 pockets, then turn the back and stitch the back, stitch the pockets, stitch it like this, and our pockets are ready. Make sure you iron, please. So this my clothes is really very rough because we've not been ironing. After you've sewn the pockets, place the 2 fronts together. Place the 2 fronts together just the way I did, and sew the front crouch together. Once you have sewn it together, you bring the back to place it together, the 2 back facing each other, and sew the crouch area too. Sew the crouch together too, just like this. Sew it together. Then we are going to join our front and back together. Join your front and back together. Place each of them facing each other. Place the front together. Place 2 of them together. Please make sure you iron if you have light, or if you don't have light, you can sew and later you will iron it, just like I'm doing. I had no option, that's why I was sewing without ironing. You can place it, then pin it. If you have pin with you, you can pin it from waist to hip, then from hip to the full length. Pin the front and the back together. Then you are going to mark where you will put your zip. My zip will be at the side because that's where my client wants it. She doesn't want front zip and she doesn't want back zip. So you are going to shape your clothes. Whatever hip you are using, enter your hip, enter your waist. Use your exact hip. If your client wants it free, you can add ½ inch or 1 inch. But if your client wants it tight around the hip, you can use your exact hip. Pin it from up to down so that you will not make any mistake while sewing it. So I've done that. Actually, I did not pin my own, but you can pin your own. Then after I've already shaped my own, I've sewn the side from the waist to the full length. Then it's remaining the inseam. You see how I sewed my pockets down? That's how I want it. I didn't curve down of my pockets because I want it this way. So make sure your hip you entered is correct, your waist is correct. Yeah. Once you are satisfied, you go on with the inseam allowance. I'm still checking though, to make sure my hip is the hip I want and the waist I want. So you see the inseam is still open, so you are going to hold it together and pin it. Please pin so that it doesn't shake while sewing. Pin it from the other leg to the crouch center, then from the other leg to the crouch center. Pin it together this way, and after that you can mark 1/2 inch through if you know that you can sew it without marking. I'm just showing you guidelines to know what you are going to do. Just sew it like that from leg to the crouch, then you turn the other leg side, sew it from the full length to the crouch. Please don't sew it straight, just from the other leg to the center of the crouch, then from the other leg to the center of the crouch. So we are done sewing it. You cut out, fold fold the leg of your trouser. Measure your length before you fold it to know how many inches you are going to fold in. If your length is not enough, you can use 1/2 inch to fold in, but if it's enough, you can use 1 inch to fold in. So fold. After you've folded your full length, cut out your waistband. Cut out your waistband. Your waistband will be your exact waist measurement minus 1 inch. You are minusing the 1 inch so that it will be tight around the person's waist. So I've cut out my waistband. The width of my waistband is going to be 2 inches, and this one is more than, that's why I'm trimming it off. It's going to be 2 inches, and you add 1/2 inch for sewing allowance. So this is 2.5 inch that I cut. Then you place it together like this and sew it. After, I will take it to where I'm going to weave it to make the inside more clean. So this is it. Later I'll fix the zip by the left side. I think we are almost done with this trouser. Just make sure you press it, make sure you iron it very well. Check if your lap measurement is correct, your knee measurement is correct, everywhere is correct, your waist is correct. Then we are done. So this is outcome of the trouser. The top is also fine. The shirt dress is so cute. So if you don't understand the trouser pattern, just tell me, let me know on the comment section. I will make another video using pattern. You know, this one is actually not a very clear tutorial, you know. So if you don't you didn't understand it, just let me know so that I will do another tutorial on this. And also, if you want to know how I cut the shirt and everything, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to be notified whenever I post another video. Thank you for staying up to this time. Thank you.